By 2003, South Korea had the fastest average internet speeds in the world, and something remarkable was happening inside that bandwidth. Millions of people were gathering in online communities that looked, felt, and functioned almost exactly like what the rest of the world would later call Reddit. They voted content up and down. They organized into niche topic boards. They built reputations through posting history. They even developed their own memes and slang, years before those words entered the English internet's vocabulary. Reddit launched in 2005. DC Inside had been running since 1999. The question worth asking is not whether Korea influenced the global internet. The question is why almost nobody outside Korea noticed. Consider the scale. DC Inside launched in 1999 as a digital camera enthusiast forum, and by the mid-2000s had expanded into hundreds of subject boards with tens of millions of monthly page views. Naver Cafe, launched in 2000, grew to host over 900,000 individual community groups by the early 2010s, according to Naver's own disclosures. Blind, a workplace anonymity app founded in 2013, reached over 8 million verified professional users across South Korea and the United States by 2023, per the company's reported figures. Korea's overall internet penetration crossed 90% of households by 2010, nearly a decade ahead of the OECD average, based on OECD Broadband Statistics. And broadband adoption in Korea hit 50% of households by 2004, a threshold the United States did not cross until around 2007, according to OECD data. These were not small experiments. They were mass participation systems at a scale that had no equivalent anywhere else. Three forces combined to make Korea the unlikely birthplace of mass forum culture. First, the government. After the 1997 Asian financial crisis, the Kim Dae-jung administration made broadband infrastructure a national recovery strategy, investing heavily in laying fiber and subsidizing connections. A policy documented by the OECD and the Korean Ministry of Science and ICT. Second, geography. Korea is a small, densely urbanized country where laying fiber to apartment blocks is far cheaper per household than in sprawling suburban nations. Third, culture. Korean society already had strong traditions of group identity and community deliberation. Concepts like jong, a sense of deep communal bond, translated naturally into online group spaces. When the pipes were fast and cheap and the culture was ready for collective participation, forums did not just succeed, they became the primary social architecture of Korean digital life. DC Inside's gallery system, where users self-organized into topic-specific boards, anticipated Reddit's subreddit model precisely because it solved the same human need, belonging to a specific tribe within a massive crowd. These communities reshaped Korean society in ways that were not always healthy. DC Inside's anonymous gallery boards became incubators for some of the internet's most aggressive misogynist subcultures, with certain boards influencing real-world political movements in ways documented by Korean researchers at Seoul National University and covered extensively by Korean press outlets, including Hankyoreh. Naver Cafe's closed group structure allowed health misinformation and financial fraud to circulate in sealed communities where outsiders could not easily fact-check. Blind's professional anonymity, celebrated for exposing corporate wrongdoing, also enabled coordinated harassment campaigns against individual employees, a problem the company has publicly acknowledged. And there is a structural irony: the same insularity that made Korean internet culture so rich and innovative also trapped it. Because these platforms developed almost entirely in Korean, the global tech conversation largely missed what was being built, and then reinvented it independently years later, with far more venture capital and far more English language media coverage. Korea's forum story is ultimately a lesson about the geography of innovation. The internet's most consequential ideas did not all originate in Silicon Valley. Some were stress-tested at scale in Seoul apartment blocks years earlier, in a language that most Western engineers never learned. Upvoting, anonymous professional whistleblowing, topic-based community self-governance. These were not invented in San Francisco. They were refined in Korea first. The pattern repeats across technology history. The first adopters are rarely the ones who get the credit. What Korea built quietly, others built loudly and got famous for. That gap between where something is invented and where it gets named is one of the most reliable forces in the history of technology. Understanding it changes how we think about which countries are shaping the internet right now, in languages most of us have not yet learned to read.